are in listen-only mode.
Okay. Welcome everybody to the second SmartNet North American Adjustment webinar. Hopefully everybody's gotten the message now of what's going on, but we'll carry this through today and let everybody know what's happening. If you've attended this webinar before, we appreciate you coming. Hopefully you have some follow-up questions. This is the time to ask those questions. We have a number of folks that will be assisting to answer the questions as we move forward, so don't hesitate to ask, because now is definitely it's definitely time to get out there. My name is Tyler Collier. I'm with the SmartNet group here at Leica. We'll be covering a few different things. Today's agenda: quick review of where are we now and some of the portal features that we have. We'll discuss the SmartNet initiative and our standards, and then we'll move into the North American adjustment. What it means to you guys, how we're going to do coordinate and epoch tracking, what's going to happen going forward, the common reference frame that we'll be working on, and then wrap up with questions. Again, if you do have questions during the presentation, feel free to ask them. If it's pertinent to the rest of the group, we'll bring it up as we see time to have it happen, and then we'll also take questions and answers towards the end of the presentation as well. So where are we now? A few quick numbers for you guys. 58 servers currently in operation, 550 plus stations currently in SmartNet. We're now servicing 20 states and 4 Canadian provinces, and continue to grow. A few other things that have happened since the last update. We've added 20 new GNSS stations into the mix. We've begun transitioning the Washington State network over to into SmartNet. And we've also upgraded to the newest version of Spider. So those are just a few things that have happened, and all of these things are very important actually in the back end as we play towards the to the adjustment itself. We usually cover a lot of information about the portal while in any presentation that we do or any webinar that we do, because it's our online resource, it's our online tool to get a ton of answers. And there's been a lot of work done on this over the past several months, and it's coming to a head where we'll be launching the new portal. But we'll talk about a few of the features that you guys need specifically to the adjustment going forward. So some of the review things we want to cover is the download section, the site ID and RTCM ID search tool, the site management database where you can find site logs, find information about positions of stations, et cetera, domain names. This doesn't really play to the adjustment itself, but it is important for some other things that are coming down the road, so we want to make sure to mention it. Twitter updates. This is one way that we get information out into the community very quickly. And then our new support portal and email address. So downloads. This is the download section as it looks today. It does change with the new portal, which you'll see here in a second. But why do we want to mention this is because this is where we put all of our webinars and all the really good information that you might need going forward. So if there's a webinar out there such as this one, what we're recording right now, we also recorded the one back on the 12th. We'll record it, we'll post it, so if you missed a part, if you had to get called away, if somebody else in your organization needs this information, you can very easily get it to them. So that's under resources and downloads on the portal, on the website. So we encourage you to go there and poke around because we post a lot of good information there. The second feature that we want to review is the site ID and RTCM search tool. Today, this is what it looks like. Again, it'll be changing just a little bit, but you'll want to be able to use this to find about the current epochs. You'll be able to find the current coordinates. If you're in areas of movement, you'll be able to track as we have to change coordinates and so on and so forth. So we want to make sure that you guys are aware that that's there. It's where you can get a lot of information, and we'll actually do a live demo of it here in just a second. Domain names, in an effort to try to streamline things and to help it simplify it for everybody, we created some new domain names that are much smaller and shorter than the old ones that we had. These domain names can be used for any SmartNet data service, be it RTK or Rhinex downloads. It can also be used to access the website and the portal. So all data services, we strongly recommend that you use these new domain names. The reason that we want to make sure you do this, and if you aren't using domain names right now and your rover has the ability to do that, we strongly recommend that you transition to using them. There's some things that will be happening in the future with failover systems and such that will be reliant on you using domain names. If you don't, then you'll have manual changes that you have to make in the field. So, for example, xx.smartnetna.us or .com, the XX being either the state if you're in the U.S. Or in Canada is the province call. So that would be what we'd want you to use. It's much shorter than the old one, which had smartnet.state.leica-geosystems.com. Big, long monster name. So we've shortened it, made it a little easier to remember. This also works for Rhinex data. So if you need to download Rhinex data, either via FTP or Spider Web, you can type in tx.smartnetna.com, and it'll take you right to this Texas SmartNet site. Or if you need FTP, put FTP out in front of that as opposed to HTTP. It'll be good to go. SmartNetNA.com will also be the name of the new website when it launches. Twitter. We know we've mentioned this a lot. We are always getting questions about how to get data to field crews. And as opposed to trying to reinvent the wheel and come up with our own delivery system to do everything that we wanted, we chose to use and integrate Twitter into our daily workflow. So if you have a field crew that needs to get alert to what's happening on the network, then you can have them simply text follow SmartNet_NA to 40404. You can see the graphic over to the right. And then they will receive any network updates that we post to Twitter to their mobile phones directly via SMS. So you don't have to follow us on Twitter. You don't have to sign up for Twitter. You can just sign up to get text messages to your phone. These messages can be anything from network maintenance. They can be announcements of new stations. Anything that we do of consequence, we're going to post on here. New webinars, anything that we think is important, we're going to post on here. And you can also go back and find this information in our Twitter feed here on the link that you see. We also integrate this in the portal and the website, so you can find the information that you need to find it, fairly easily. So you've heard me say something about the new portal. We're not going to do a full walkthrough today on it, but I want to just give you a sneak peek to it. This is what it looks like. We've changed the layout. We've changed pretty much everything about it to try to make it easier to navigate. And this will be launching next week as well. So we just wanted to give you a sneak peek of it, and we will be doing a webinar along with the portal launch here in the coming weeks. But the adjustment right now is the most pressing and important thing that we have to cover. Another important thing that we're launching in concert with the adjustment and with the new portal is a new support portal. In an effort to improve our ability to support our customer base, we're launching this portal. All the features haven't been finished out yet, but we are launching it to aid in communication and support of the adjustment launch itself. So you'll be able to find this as a link directly inside the SmartNet website, or you can visit support.smartnetna.com. We've also shortened our support email address, which was a big long monster name. Used to be hard for people to remember. Again, we're trying to simplify things, so support@smartnetna.com. So we've got a lot of things going on. We're trying to focus on the adjustment, and we do want to mention the support portal because it is going to have a lot of information that'll help you through this adjustment. So the SmartNet initiative. So There's a lot of pieces and parts with SmartNet, and one of the biggest things, aside from growing the network and the portal, is making sure that we have some framework to work from. So one thing that we worked on in the past year or so, and one thing that will carry us through over the next 24 months, is an upgrade and replacement plan to get all of our existing sites up to complete GNSS receivers, as well as a structured growth plan. But along with that is more stringent requirements, standards of practice, our involvement in all expansion site selection, et cetera, and the adjustment and all these things kind of play together into the grand scheme of things. So the SmartNet initiative is what we call it internally, and this is what's going to move us forward with all of our plans as we go into the future. So site standards. What are our site standards? Well, all efforts are made to install new SmartNet stations to meet or exceed NGS specifications. And all sites are reviewed by our group prior to installations to assure the highest quality, lowest latency, and most stable measurements are available to you, our customers, out in the field. Older stations that we've inherited as we've taken over networks, we're in the process of upgrading a large portion of the network to be able to provide full GNSS corrections. And that's not just GPS and GLONASS, that's also Galileo and Compass as those constellations come online. And if these installations do not meet our standards, then they will be either analyzed for upgrade or removal along with the GNSS hardware. So a lot of things happen in the background, but we want to make sure that we have a framework that we can work from. This is our standard mast. It's extremely rigid, very adaptable, easy to install. It's clean and professional, so we can use it in a variety of different ways. We can use it with a 3-bolt design. We can use it with a T-bolt design. So we can use it in a lot of different ways, and allows us, when we roll up onto a site, to put it in. But more importantly, it allows you guys, as our customers, to be able to trust that the installation is done well, and that the accuracy and the repeatability of your measurements are of the highest quality. So, to the adjustment. So there's a lot of things happening, but the thing we're here to talk about the most today is the adjustment itself. So, we've adopted the NGS standards, the proposed NGS standards to assure an accurate tie to the National Spatial Reference Frame going forward. This allows us to provide the internal integrity, the accuracy between our stations ourselves, as well as being able to hold to the NSRS itself. So we completed this adjustment. It was a complete readjustment by our geodesists over in Heerbrugg using Bernice, adhering to the NGS proposed standards. And so basically what this means is that we have to be able to tie all of our stations into the NSRS within 2 to 4 centimeters. That's the end goal. Our internal integrity has to be in the 1 to 2 centimeter world. So we're half as again. We require half again as the accuracy that NGS does. So this is what we're holding to. Some terms that you might we want to kind of cover, so you have we're talking the same language. Processing coordinates. These are the physical coordinates of the station on the planet relative to IGS. The broadcast coordinates, these are the ones that affect you. We mentioned the processing coordinates only to kind of give you a peek behind the curtain. In reality, for your day-to-day work, they're not that important. The broadcast coordinates, however, are what are changing that are very, very, very important to you. Okay, these are the coordinates used for the computation of the differential baseline between the reference station that you receive corrections from and the rover itself. Okay, so this is what you compute your baselines off of using GPS. IGS 08 is the current IGS global reference frame as defined by the IGS core stations. This is the reference frame for all the ephemeral data that we're working off of. Non-dynamic stations, so these are stations with low horizontal velocities, so Nebraska, not moving a lot. High dynamic stations are stations that have high horizontal velocities. That's California, moving a ton. Epic date, this is the date a coordinate is published. So this is the point in time that coordinate is valid for, and what it's published for. NAT 83 is the horizontal coordinate system for U.S., Canada, and Mexico. NA 2011 is the national adjustment of 2011 for the U.S. The NSRS is the National Spatial Reference System, and the CSRS is the Canadian Spatial Reference System. So for you guys that are attending out in California, this is not California Spatial Reference System. This is Canada, Canadian Spatial Reference System, just to make sure you guys are clear. So the thing that jumps off the slide, of course, is the date, which is coming up quick. But we want to make sure that you guys are paying attention not just to the date, but everything that we're talking about today. So make sure don't get distracted by the date. The date's coming, but everything that we're talking about today is very important to get us to the date. So what is happening? Preparations have been completed. Execution plan has been finished. We're now sitting in the webinar, so it's being conducted, and publishing the coordinates are next. So we will be publishing the coordinates on October 1st, 2012. So on Monday, the coordinates go live. This is very important. This affects everyone. It doesn't matter what state you're in. It doesn't matter where you are at in the United States. This affects you. So please take that under consideration. We had in the last webinar, the question was asked, does this affect me? If you are using SmartNet, it affects you, period. Doesn't matter where you're at, California, Nebraska, Pennsylvania, Virginia, Texas, Georgia, wherever. It does affect you. So what does it mean to you? Well, we've made a lot of changes. There's a lot of back-end things happening. But at the end of the day, what you need to know is this. In Spider, we have two sets of coordinates that we can work with now. Prior to Spider 4.0, we had only a single coordinate that was used for processing and broadcast. So what was the issue with this? Well, for high dynamic stations and areas of movement, this caused inconsistent network processing results. So as the stations move, and we say where they're at, and where we're saying they're at and where they're really at don't fit together. And again, remember I said we have to keep a 1 to 2 centimeter tolerance between our stations to be able to provide good quality network corrections. All right, so if I have a station that's moving 3 to 5 centimeters a year, this is a problem because they're moving apart. They no longer fit. The problem was exacerbated by the fact that if we adjusted those coordinates in the back end, these were immediately reflected to the user. So any coordinate changes we made meant that what you saw, where your vector was calculated, would move in the field. So with Spider 4.0, they introduced separate processing and broadcast coordinates, and you understanding this is pretty important as we go forward. This allows us to adjust the processing coordinates, the back-end coordinates, things that don't affect you, except for the network corrections, for optimal network processing. And it also allows us to complete projects without new transformations or adjustments. So we are now working off two separate sets of coordinates. One's the processing, and one's the broadcast. So processing coordinates. These are transparent to you as the end user. Okay. So these do not affect you. You do not calculate baselines off this. This is just for what we use in the background. Okay. These will be IGS08 with current Epoch 2012.xxx. Okay, so these are what we use to compute the network corrections, not what you use to compute your baselines. Current adjustment for California will be published October 1st, 2012, so the processing coordinates of the station will be IGS08 Epoch 2012.750. For the rest of the adjustment, the U.S. will be Epoch 2012.191. Okay, so that's when the adjustment is actually taking place for the rest of the U.S. Broadcast coordinates. These are what affect you. Okay, so for non-dynamic stations, these are what you calculate your baselines off of. The NSRS Common Epoch, which is what NGS just published. For US, it'll be NAT83 NA 2011 Epoch 2010, and for Canadian coordinates, it will be NAT83 CSRS V6 Epoch 2010. In high dynamic areas, we'll be broadcasting an alternate epoch. So in areas where we see a lot of movement, we will be broadcasting an epoch that coincides with the point in time. So in California, for example, it'll be NAT83 NA 2011 Epoch 20 whatever, depending on what time that these coordinates are published. So for example, in California, if you publish on October 1st, the broadcast coordinates of the station will be NAT83 Epoch 2011 Epoch 2012.750. So we'll explain some more of that as we go. how much are things moving? It's we're getting a couple of those questions right now. Current versus new shifts for broadcast coordinates. Most of the U.S. and Canada will experience a 1 to 5 centimeter shift. It doesn't matter where you're at. If you ask me how much does Texas shift, one station could shift 1 centimeter, or another station could shift 3 centimeters. So it's hard to project based on how the coordinates were established when the station was put in originally. So this is moving from a NAT 83 Cores 96 Epoch of 2002 to a NAT 83 NA 2011 Epoch 2010. So if you guys recognize that nomenclature, that's what NGS is currently at, is the NAT 83 NA 2011 Epoch 2010, and that's what we're moving to. In Northern California, the average shift is going to be approximately 8 centimeters. So this is moving from NAT 83 NSRS 2007 Epoch 2011 to NAT 83 NA 2011 Epoch 2012.750. In Southern California, we're going to have a bigger shift. This is because of the change. You can see the change in time. We conducted an adjustment last year in Northern California because of some issues that we were seeing. But in Southern California, that one hasn't been conducted for a pretty good while. So the average shift we're going to see in Southern California is approximately 19 centimeters. So this is moving from Cores 96 Epoch 2007 to NA 2011 Epoch 2012.750. Okay, so we're moving a pretty good amount in Northern California and Southern California. So coordinate and epoch tracking. Where will you be able to find this? So we're talking about a lot of different things. How will I be able to determine what epoch is being broadcast, or what coordinates being broadcast, and what datum and what reference frame and epoch are we working from? You'll be able to find all of this on the portal. Okay, so processing coordinates, all processing coordinates. IGS 08 current epoch will be published for all stations, so that's what we're working off of in the background. The NSRS Common Epoch 2010 will be published for all stations, so that you'll have the ability to have the tie back to the NSRS. And then the alternate epoch 2012.750 will be done for high dynamic stations only. Okay, so this is what we'll be publishing and putting on the portal itself. For Canada, the same thing, but this is a U.S. only launch right now. So where will you find this? You'll find it in the site database. So if I quickly pull up the portal and log in, I hit login. There we go. And I select a station. Okay, so just like in the old portal, when you could come and find the station name, you'll be able to very easily come in here, enter the site code, and hit search. Once you do that, you will see all the information that we have about the station. And you can see as of right now, we're still on a Cores 96 reference frame, Epoch of 2002. But you'll, when we update these coordinates over the weekend, you'll see the reference frame displayed here, as well as the epoch date, epoch time as well. You'll also be able to go back and look at any superseded positions that would be in here. So they would have the beginning date of use, the epoch, the reference frame, the status, when the adjustment date was carried out, and you'll also be able to see any historical positions of the station. Okay, so we've tried to make this pretty easy to find out what it is. We've tried to use terminology, superseded coordinates, superseded positions, is similar to what you've seen from NGS in the past. We're trying to kind of hold to that same thing. So the portal will be available for you guys to look at. This is also the new site database, so you can actually see a little bit more about a site by clicking and seeing the pictures. Come in here and play with it. We're pretty happy about the new portal overall. So again, this is similar to what it would look like once everything goes live. You'll have your reference frame NAT 83 NA 2011, the epoch date 2010, beginning date of use, all this information will be filled out and available to you, and you'll also be able to go back and look at superseded positions, the adjustment date, anything that you need to see very quickly will be available to you on the portal. Okay, so we're going to track these changes. Okay, let me review a couple questions. Okay, nothing really that affects us right now. One question is, are stations along the Gulf Coast high dynamic stations with all the subsidence in that area? So in Louisiana, if we do see subsidence issues, we know we're going to see them and experience them in Louisiana. If we are seeing them or experiencing them in the Houston market, in the Texas market, Gulf Coast market through there, then yes, those stations will be identified as high dynamic. And then they will be adjusted, and an announcement will go out as well. So, good segue. So what's going to happen? We're going to be running adjustments on a monthly basis in the background to just evaluate coordinates, not change coordinates, just to evaluate the coordinates of all stations in SmartNet. So we'll evaluate processing coordinates for all high dynamic stations, and these will be adjusted in the back end quarterly. Again, these coordinates do not affect you; they just affect our ability to produce quality network correction, but they don't affect your baseline between base and rover. And non-dynamic stations will be adjusted on a yearly basis. They will be evaluated quarterly for displacement that fall outside that 1 to 2 centimeter tolerance that we do require. Processing coordinates, all processing coordinates will have a current epoch as published on the SmartNet portal from the moment in time that the adjustment was executed. So if the final adjustment was conducted today, the epoch would be 2012.737. Okay, so that's how we're going to maintain processing coordinates. Again, processing coordinates do not affect anything on the front end; they affect us on the back end. Broadcast coordinates. This is the important part. Cross-check adjustments will be run on a monthly basis to evaluate the coordinates for all stations, and then in California and Washington, they will be adjusted most likely on a biannual basis, April and October. We're still looking at this. Some velocity models that we have, we might be able to get away with once a year, so every 6 months, or once a year, excuse me, as opposed to having to do it on a biannual basis. We might be able to get away on an annual basis, but we're still looking at some of those velocity models. But most likely, from everything else we've seen up to this point, it will be done in April and October. Louisiana, the subsidence isn't quite as dramatic as the horizontal movement that California sees. So these will be adjusted on an annual basis. It will probably most likely coincide either with the April or the October adjustment, so we say on a similar schedule. Non-dynamic stations will be evaluated on an annual basis, so if we see any localized subsidence, any localized movement or problems with the station, then we can make those changes as necessary. Any unplanned updates may occur after a seismic event or any other type of large displacements are discovered, be it horizontal or vertical. And so we will make sure that we notify everyone of what's going on as that happens. So as you can see, we're going to have different coordinates happening at different times in different places. So what will the broadcast coordinate epoch be? It gets a little bit more complicated. At the end of the day, what's important is knowing what's happening and being able to get to that information, and that's where the portal comes into play. So high dynamic stations will have an alternate epoch. Okay, so non-dynamic stations, so this affects, say, 80% of the network. We'll have an adjustment published on October 1st, 2012, and these non-dynamic stations will have a broadcast epoch of reference frame and epoch of NAD 83 NA 2011 epoch 2010. Okay, so that ties in with what NGS is doing. If we have stations that are in high dynamic areas and we have to update these coordinates on our biannual basis, this adjustment would be published on October 1st, for example, and we'd have a NAD 83 epoch 2012.750 coordinate published for it. If it was April 1st, 2013, again, we'd have a NAT83 and a 2011 Epoch 2013.248. A question was raised a second ago about the use of the term of epoch. Epoch date is the average of the measurement or survey, not the data is published. We are tying these two things together. Okay, we will use HTTP to put the publishing date, the launch date, and the adjustment date all together. And the reason we're doing this is to try to cause less confusion. So that's the one thing we're doing. The adjustments will be done in very close proximity to the actual publishment of the coordinates, and so by using HTTP, we can still get a very accurate position for the October 1st epoch or the April 1st epoch to publish it and have that coordinate the same. Now, hopefully that clears up the question a little bit. So what we'll be able to find on the portal, again, we're putting all this information on the portal. They'll be able to find the processing coordinates for all stations. You'll be able to find the NSRS common epoch 2010 for all stations, and you'll be able to find the alternate epoch, for example, what we're launching on October 1st for all high dynamic stations. Okay, so this is what you'll find on the portal, going forward. Again, right here, you'll be able to come in. You'll be able to find the current broadcast epochs, and you'll be able to also find any of the superseded positions or any of the other positions that are associated with this station directly here on the portal. So why are we doing this? By having two epochs available for high dynamic stations, we assure that we can have that common epoch 2010 tie to NSRS so that you can tie your survey to something that you can reference. And then we'll also have the current broadcast epoch 2012 whatever to assure the best fit in real-time applications in high dynamic areas. To give you an example, in California, if I'm in the Gilroy, California area, currently, if I am working there and I'm getting corrections from one station, and then I move a little bit and I get corrections from another station, these two corrections may not match up. They might be but a tenth of difference. Okay, if we adjust these on a more repetitive cycle, this gives us the ability, very quickly to rectify this, for real-time users, and then for post-processing applications, people can use the NSRS tie in the back end. So here's a summary. Again, just kind of taking all the slides and putting it in one place. In processing coordinates, we'll have that current epoch for all stations. For non-dynamic stations, we'll update that annually to make sure we have good processing results. High dynamic stations will be updated quarterly, and all stations will be evaluated and updated at certain thresholds. NSRS common, the epoch 2010, the NGS common tie. All stations will have this available, and it'll be broadcast for non-dynamic stations. And then for the alternate epoch, these will be available for high dynamic stations and broadcast for those high dynamic stations. Again, California and Washington will be updated biannually. Louisiana updated annually, and again, if we see a subsidence in the Texas region, due to dewatering of groundwater, we'll update those as well. Since this is a North America or U.S. only launch, this is what's happening in Canada. Same thing. So, a lot of epochs, a lot of reference frame, a lot of this, a lot of that. It's a lot of information. We understand, and we hate for it to be that. Hopefully, our California counterparts, they understand epochs and reference frames pretty well. They deal with it all the time. So, know for most of the U.S., we're making an adjustment on October 1st. That'll be to the NSRS 2010 tie. After that, most likely, you will not be affected again for a long time. Okay, if you are, we will make an announcement. This is not something that's going to affect you, every 6 months. Okay, because the velocities in Nebraska are effectively zero for NAT 83. Okay, so this will not affect you. It will only really affect people mostly in high dynamic areas. So don't get too freaked out. But how do I get back to a comments and reference frame? So process coordinates don't matter, don't affect you. So for broadcast coordinates, we will provide a transformation. This is still under development. We're still doing some testing on this. That will be available on the portal for either download or for manual entry into your data collection software to allow customers to project back to the last adjustment and or to the NAT 83 NA 2011 common NSRS Epoch. Okay. For example, October 1st, 2012, we will publish the new broadcast coordinates. We'll also publish new broadcast coordinates on April 1st, 2013 for California. These transformations will be made available to go from the 2012.750 back to the Epoch 2010. We'll have one that's available to go from the Epoch 2013-248, the April Epoch, back to the October Epoch, and again one to go from the April Epoch back to the common Epoch. Okay, so we're still working on this. As soon as we have these available, they will be published. There are some issues with this idea of doing it. Most probably, right at the plate boundaries, you will see some error. Well, will that error occur? We don't know. We don't know how much that error will be. It's hard to figure that out. It's actually impossible to figure out exactly how much error you'll be pushing to that specific point because of the way that things are calculated. But we're trying to make it as simple and easy as possible. But the easiest way to get back to a common reference frame or to a reference frame that you need or get to an epoch that you need is tie into control on the ground that's already there that you're already working from. So what does this look like? If we have that common epoch, the NSRS tie, and we have an alternate epoch, again, this only affects people in California, Washington, Louisiana. We'll have a transformation that goes from the alternate epoch back to the common. We'll also have a transformation that goes from any new alternate epoch that's published back to the last epoch. And we'll also have a transformation that goes from whatever the most current epoch is back to the common epoch as well. Okay, these aren't published yet. We're working on these again, but as soon as we get them up, they'll be available for download, or the parameters will be available, on the portal. We'll also have a link to NGS HTTP. If you don't know what HTTP is, it helps calculate between either epochs in time, reference frames, and so you can move your projects around. You can do a lot of back-end calculations in this, and you can help it to improve fit over time on projects. One question that we've gotten a number of times is, are we going to be able to provide a transformation that allows us to get back to current coordinates? At this time, we don't believe we'll be able to provide a transformation that accurately projects from the NAT 83 Epoch 2010 to our current coordinates. This is due to the way that station coordinates were established prior to our assuming control, and that transformation would contain far too much error to be of any use. There is a possibility of providing a transformation that allows you to get back to NAT 83 cores 96 Epoch 2002, but it would not get you back to our exact coordinates. And we're looking at that, but right now we don't think that there's any way that we can do that accurately enough to be of any use out in the field. So right now we're just going to say we're not going to do it. So how do you get back to your current coordinates? We've talked about transformations that allow you to get between some of the established coordinates that we'll have right now. We've talked about the common reference frame, the alternate epochs, all the things that we're going to be doing. But the short and skinny of is, how does this affect me in the field, and how do I get back to my current coordinates? if you're working on any existing projects, you will need to do one of the following things. You'll need to perform a transformation, a localization, or a calibration. Okay, so you will need to go make measurements to existing control on your sites. If you are not sure about your existing control, please go reestablish that control prior to October 1st to make sure that you can get back to those existing coordinates. Okay, this is the same thing as occupying a backside. You want to be able to go out and either do a quick shift, a calibration, a localization, something on that site that gets you back to those local coordinates. Okay. You want to make sure that you perform checks and balances on every project that you have used GPS on in the past going forward, just to make sure that you're not assuming that you're going to get the same answers as you got before. Okay, so you want to make sure that you go and check into stuff when you get out on site. And as always, you want to observe good survey practices. These are just a few things that you can do. If you need, you have further questions, concerns, please contact your local GPS support rep. They'll be able to kind of head you down the road for transformations, localizations. A question that just came up that's very appropriate. On legacy projects, can you simply change the core station properties, latitude and longitude, to the newly published info after the adjustment? Doing this, will the older points tie with the new points? This is assuming the locations were in real time. Yes. So you can do this a couple different ways. If you're doing topo pickup work, you can very easily change your reference coordinates, either your old reference coordinates to the new, or if you go pick up data and you need it to tie into an old data set, you can take the new coordinates and you can take your old coordinates and you can plug them into your data collection software, your field software, your office software, and move everything back to that old reference frame. That's fine. In real-time applications, you've got to do a transformation. You got to do a localization. You got to do a calibration. If I'm going out there and I'm trying to do layout work, you got to make sure that you tie. Okay. So, a lot of information. See if there's any other questions. Okay. Who does this affect? I want to say this again. Make sure everybody's clear. This change affects everyone and every station. Okay. It affects some stations more than others. It affects some regions more than others, but it does affect everyone, every region, every station. Okay, so if I'm in Pennsylvania, I'm in Texas, I'm in Nebraska, I'm in Georgia, I'm in Maryland, I'm in California, I'm in Arizona, I'm in New Mexico. If I'm in any state or province or state right now, like this is a U.S. only launch for right now, for any state in the United States, this will affect you if you're getting corrections off of SmartNet. Okay, like I said, the average change is 1 to 5 centimeters across the majority of the U.S. In California, it's between 8 and 19 centimeters, depending where you're at. So it does affect everyone. Okay. If you want to know how much it'll affect any given area, I don't know. You'll have to look after the fact at what the new coordinates are versus the old coordinates. So the first adjustment webinar was recorded and is already up on the website. You can find it at adjustment.smartnetna.com. We will publish this one. We'll post this one as well because there's some new information in this one, just a little bit, not much. So we'll post this as well so you can watch either one of them that you feel like you want to watch again. We are working on a few last-minute tweaks to some stations that exhibited issues during validation and testing, but those will be wrapped up today or tomorrow. Just for you guys that didn't know, NGS did just publish the new GOA 2012 Revision A. And it has been released for public consumption. There were some issues in Louisiana and Texas. Said in a really interesting hot mod webinar about that a few days ago. We'll be performing a portal launch webinar in the coming weeks to introduce the new SmartNet website user and support portals. So keep an eye out for that. And we're going to be developing a new integrity monitoring and a future adjustment schedule as we go forward. So that's under development. So that's what's happening next. Again, a lot of information. So we're going to sit here for as long as we have to today to answer any questions that we have. All right. If you have a transformation, do I need another one for the same area? Yes. If you've done a transformation to local control, if your reference station moves coordinates, which your reference station is going to move coordinates, then your transformation will no longer be valid because you've got a whole new relative measurement. So what you'll need to do is reestablish a transformation. How much will this affect New Jersey? 1 to 5 centimeters. It varies depending on station. It can from station to station. One station could be 1, one station could be 5. Is it horizontal or vertical or both? Mostly in the vertical, but it could be in the horizontal. Excuse me. Mostly in the horizontal, but it could be in the vertical as well. So you want to pay attention to all 3 spatial references. Do we have an average adjustment or value? No, it's going to vary 1 to 5 centimeters. What parts of Texas? Houston, San Antonio, vertical only. All stations, all stations, all stations, all areas are going to be affected by this. Okay. Every single one of them. There's not a single station in the network that will not be affected by this move, okay, by this move to this new adjustment. It could be as little as 1 centimeter, so you might not see it in the field, okay, and you go 20 kilometers down the road and you're on another station and it could be 4 centimeters, okay, and you will see that in the field, okay, so you will see this no matter where you're at, no matter what stations you work off of, you will see changes in the coordinates. I don't want to belabor this point, but it's very, 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 very important. So, special thanks, and we'll stay around for some more questions. We'd like to thank Bill Henning at NGS, Richard Snade at NGS, Mike Kramer up at GSD in Canada. These guys we've talked to in great length and detail about this adjustment, about the new NGS standards and the Canadian standards that are in place, and pick their brains about what we're doing, how we're doing it, and if it fits within the frame of reference of what they're thinking. Some of the things that we're doing are out on the front edge of what people typically have to worry about. NGS hasn't had to worry about real-time applications that much, and so how we handle high dynamic environments is a challenge for us, and it's a challenge for NGS. So we are out on the front edge, but in talking to everybody that we've talked to, we think we've come out with a pretty good solution. We'd also like to thank Alex and our guys in Harebrug for their hard work and assistance on this project and our ongoing plans. To give you an idea, we've got a pretty good percentage, a pretty good structure of stations that are available both in the NGS cores network as well as our network. And looking at the adjustment values between what we got and what NGS got, 2 separate adjustments. 2 separate times, 2 separate groups of doing the adjustment. The agreement between our adjustment and the NGS adjustment was under 1 centimeter. Okay, to give you the idea about the values that we're seeing. So if we take an NGS provided IGS value for a station and we take a SmartNet adjusted value for that same station and we compare them, we're in and under 1 centimeter. Okay, so that's pretty damn good. And certainly, last but certainly not least, you are customers. We know this adjustment has been promised for a long time. We've been talking about it forever. It's been a long time in development. There's been delays that we've had to overcome on our side. There's been delays because of things happening with NGS and their release of the new Epoch and new Geoid. But we hope you see all the efforts and prep that's gone into place and been devoted to get this right. Because what we didn't want to happen is get it wrong and then have to do another adjustment and another set of changes that would reflect to you, our customers. So thank you very much as well. So, like I said, we're going to sit here for a while for questions. This is our, again, you can still email us at nafta.smartnet, which is our old support email address, but you can also email us here at support@smartnetna.com. You can also go to the Contact Us page on the website and send information in, and we will happily help you any way that we can. So let's answer some more questions. Dun, 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 dun. NGS updated their data sheets online. Yes, all NGS, both passive points and active points, have been updated. What settings in the System 1200 receiver need to change? Nothing. Nothing on your actual receiver settings to connect to SmartNet will need to change. You connect just like you normally would. No change at all. And how you connect. The data after you get connected will change. So the coordinates that you will receive will change. Thereby, the measurements that you make to your points on the ground will change. So you need to make sure that you have something in place to take care of that transformation, localization, or be aware of it so you can move it back in the office. Is the transformation between 2010 and, say, California 2012.750 done post-survey or in the field and rover? It could be done either or. So you can load that transformation set up onto, it's just a coordinate set transformation set on your rover, and you can work in real time between the two reference frames. Again, the caveat there being there could be error in that transformation. We're going to do a best estimation and try to make it fit the whole, but there are going to be places where that error gets pushed. Again, most probably that error is going to get pushed to the plate boundary. That's the most logical place for it to end up. So right there along the plate boundary, you could have significant jumps in positions. So we're a little worried about that. Any System 500 changes? No. Again, you will not have any changes for System 500s, 1200s, Vivas, TopCon, Trimble, Sakia, anything out there. Connection parameters will be the same. So you connect the same. It's when you start getting coordinates that you'll see the changes, your relative measurements. Did you say the adjustment of a real-time coordinates will match NGS data sheets by 1 to 2 centimeters? No. What I said is our adjustment fits our IGS coordinates that we calculated, and the IGS coordinates that are calculated for all stations that we have a commonality between fit inside of a centimeter. Okay, so will they all fit with NGS data sheets for 1 to 2 centimeters? For passive control, maybe not. You don't know. Passive control, your quality is a question. Is it disturbed is a question. Your ground control, we'll never say that we match anything on the ground. We care about relative measurements and repeatable measurements. So core station to core station, reference station to reference station, there should be a very close tie. In that centimeter world to those stations, we tie to the NSRS within 2 to 4, inside of 2 to 4 centimeters. So we feel good about saying that. But you still need to make sure you tie to something on the ground if you need to get to ground truth. One change that would happen on a 1200 Smart Rover, thank you, Greg, would be domain names. If you're not using the new domain names, please move over to using the domain names. That would be the only change, but it doesn't really affect right now. We just want to make sure people get there as we come across. All right, just looking some more questions as they come. No, Wilma. Any expectations when FEMA or Corps of Engineers will make adjustments? No idea. On the hot mod conversation webinar a couple weeks ago, the joke was made that now that NGS is moving to a new reference frame and the new big datum here in 10 years, 2022. is the big change because it is a three-dimensional datum that's better tie. The joke was saying that when they move to the new Epoch in 2022, that will be when they move from 27 to 88 in AVD 88. They'll always stay one step behind. So that was the running joke. So no idea when FEMA or the Corps of Engineers will actually get up to current standard, current vertical elevations. If you need to get to a vertical elevation that's FEMA or Corps based, then you'll need to do a tie. You'll need a transformation or a shift in the field to attach to. Coordinate positions we obtained prior to October 1st will be shifted after October 1st. Is that correct? Kinda. Yes. The simple answer is yes. You will see different coordinates. If I measure the same point today that I measure on October 1st, there will be a change between the 2 points. Okay, it's not a shift in the coordinates that you obtain. It's the shift of coordinates what you're making your measurement to, since it's a relative measurement from the reference station itself. Since the coordinate of the reference station is changing, it will change your position on the ground. What will the proper statement on a survey be? You can reference the reference frame in Epoch, but at the end of the day, as a surveyor, you have to make the determination on what language and what you're comfortable to. Of course, most of the time, you still have to have a tie to something that you can reference. Let me scroll back up to the top and see if there's anything I missed. Dun, dun, dun. Why didn't we make this adjustment at the first of the year? Because if we made it at the first of the year and we go to a 6-month schedule, then that would put the that would put the second adjustment in the middle of work season, which we were trying to avoid like the plague, because we did not want to cause any more issues in the field than having to do these adjustments will cause. So that's the reason we didn't choose a January 1st release of this. We wanted to hit an April and October release so we stay out of the work period as far as we can. With this adjustment and using RTK, we'll be able to still check good with existing local control disks. Again, if I'm using local control, I'm using ground control, I'm using passive control. How you tie to that is a crapshoot. How it was established, how you use it. What we care about is repeatable measurements and the tie to the NSRS. So if you go tie to a local disk that was set by city or county, you may miss it, you may hit it. You just never know. But what we care about is that you come back tomorrow and you make the same measurement again, and it's repeatable. That way you can compute a transformation, localization, a calibration, something for your local control that will fit now, tomorrow, and next week. And that's one of the reasons we're doing this adjustment, is to make sure that we can maintain that repeatability of measurement over time. Vertical datum is still NAVD 88. The horizontal datum's NAT 83 2011, just as always. So there are some changes to the vertical elevations that we have, but that's more about the adjustment itself, not necessarily because of a change in reference frame. The reference frame, the vertical reference datum, is still the same as it had always been, but the way the stations or positions changed. Any changes to IMAX, MAX, nearest, etc. in the Viva? No, aside from making sure you're using the current domain name, your state abbreviation tx.smartnetna.com would be the only change that you might want to make. How will this affect data inserted into a GIS system? We're having a 1 to 5 centimeter shift for most of the U.S. 8 to 19 centimeters in California. So how will it affect it? Well, it'll affect it based on the shift of the overall positions, what the base mapping was done in, what datum the base mapping is done in, what reference frame. You can reproject it in your GIS software to get it to a common reference frame if you need to. But again, these are all relative values, so whatever we shift the reference stations, your measurements in the field will also shift in concert with that. Missed the webinar. Was it recorded? I guess you missed the first of the webinar. Was it recorded and will it be posted anywhere? Yes, you can find the webinar on the portal. It's already posted from the recording we made previously. We will post this one as well to make sure everybody gets as many correct questions answered as they can. But you can go to adjustment.smartnetna.com. So adjustment.smartnetna.com, and it will take you right to a recorded webinar. Why the domain name over an IP address? Don't they point at the same server? Yep, but if they don't point at the same server anymore, you're not going to work. So with the domain name, we can do some stuff in the backgrounds if we have to split servers for bandwidth reasons that would not necessarily be reflected to you out in the field, so you try to connect. Also, there's some things happening with our there's some things happening with the failover system that we're in development for that will do things transparently if you're using a domain name. If you're using a domain name, it'll transparently fail over to a different set of servers when we launch the new failover system, and it won't affect you. So you won't notice it. If you're using IP addresses, you'll have to make that change. So please use domain names if you can. So System 1200, Smart Rovers can use domain names. Viva can use domain names. The Trimble R8s, TopCon, certain TopCons. If you can use a domain name, please, 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 please move to domain names if you can. You know of other GPS networks, Text.Trimble, doing the same adjustments. So all of NGS stations have already had the adjustment published for them. Now, whether a network operator has put them into practice or not is up to the network operator. So I don't know when they would be putting it in. A lot of our DOT customers, Iowa, Oregon, are examining how they're going to roll this out and how they're going to put it in. But yes, they are going to be moving to the new reference frame in Epoch. If you need to know what the domain name is, you can visit the connection and configuration page on the portal. Under resources, connection and configuration information, select your rover manufacturer, and that if it supports domain names or not. If you do that, and we say Leica, and we say Viva, and we say SmartWorks, and we say Slug, and we say Texas, it does support domain names. If I hit get connection information, give it a second, my server domain name will come up right there. If I say no, then it'll give me my server IP address. Okay? But move to domain names if you can, please. For guys that did ask, where can I see this again? Again, I can go to the SmartNet support.smartnet, and the adjustment webinar is posted right here in the main place. We'll also have it posted. I think it is posted over here under Downloads, Adjustment Webinar. So we've got it in one or two places that you can find it. So hopefully you won't have a problem. And you can also just type in adjustment.smartnetna.com, and you can watch the webinar here online as well after you register for the webinar. So there's a lot of different ways to get to it. All right, folks. Well, we've been running an hour and 5 minutes. We've had a few people drop off. We're just going to sit here as long as you guys want us to sit here, but we don't have any new information, any more new information that we're going to be putting out there. So we'll sit here as long as there's people on the line to answer any questions that may come in, because we understand that this is a fairly significant change. Thank you for the people that have said they like the new portal. We're getting there. We're getting closer to where we want to be. I'm going to scan back up through the questions. Do I need to switch domain names? If you're using the old domain names, the big long ones that says SmartNet dot state abbreviation dot like it at, those are still good. I'd tell you to switch them just to get to the smaller one. tx.smartnetna.com, ga.smartnetna.com. So these changes will be made actually on Saturday night. We'll actually probably do checking and everything on Sunday. The network may come back live on Sunday, and the coordinates would be there. But the coordinates will be live on midnight October 1st, so they go in effect October 1st for everything. You may see them on Sunday. We are doing it on Saturday night, so we can do testing on Sunday. So if you get out and work on Sunday, guys, it will probably be there. But we will probably have the network fairly locked down on Sunday, so people can't get on. Yes, if your system does not support domain names, you can find the IP address again under Resources, Connection, and Configuration Information. You select your rover type, everything that you need, and then you can just say, my device does not support domain names. No. So if I chose System 500, SmartWorks, AirLink, and it get configured. You can see right here that my domain name does not come up, but my server address does. Dun, dun, dun. Going back through the questions. KML files, we continue publishing those. I don't know if we still publish our KML files or not. If we do, that's the boundaries of coverage for state boundaries. That actually is not the boundaries of the mapping. So if you want to know where the stations are and what they cover, you can come into the network coverage, and you can see the coverage in here. It's a lot faster now, guys, so if you haven't seen that, that'll be a welcome change. We've done a lot of optimization on the back end, so you can see both nearest and network coverage under the network coverage map. All right. Well, the questions look like they have come to a trickle. Unless we see another couple questions here in the next minute or so, we'll sign off. So if you got any questions, speak now or forever hold your peace. When did NGS make the adjustment? They made the adjustment earlier this year. It was originally scheduled to launch in April. I think they actually launched the coordinates in June. And then we had to wait till that the geoid was completely finished. Completely finished. So we had kind of wait around for that, but it's done. And they launched it. The passive was done, I think, in August, where they launched the coordinates for all the passive monuments as well as the active core stations. Glad you found the webinar there, Ben. Hope Louisiana's treating you well today. All right. Yes. Ask you again on October 1st. Everything will be okay, guys. We'll get through it. It'll be a lot better in the long run. We will be able to know what the coordinates on the stations are a lot closer than what we inherited. It was time to make some updates. You should see better overall network performance because of the processing coordinates being updated more frequently. It should be good to go, and it should help out everybody, as we move forward. It'll also, just so you know, we didn't mention this earlier, but because of the way that things are set up now, as we bring new stations on, it'll actually allow us to roll new stations out much faster from a processing perspective. So again, key benefits to you guys out in the field. You'll get to be able to use stations that go in faster than what we currently can roll them out at. So that's a good thing. All right. Well, thank you guys for attending. If you have any questions, send them to the support email. But since you guys aren't asking any questions, we expected this to go wonderfully and no more questions. But no, we expect questions. If you do have them, send them to support at smartnetna.com. We'll be happy to answer them. You can also visit us on the website and under Contact Us to submit support requests as well. So again, have a great day. Good luck, and we will see everybody soon. Thanks.